going to press record. Thank you to the computer and pass you over to Miranda.
Thank you, Paul. And thank you for joining us, everybody. Loads of you. That's so cheering. I'm Miranda McKerney. I'm one of Empathy Lab's founders, and we're going to be updating you on Empathy Day's plans. A quick blast, 45 minutes with, as Paul says, we hope time for any questions or kind of actions at the end. We really hope we're going to fire you up to go away and spread the word within your own organisations, to your own networks about Empathy Day, and plan too how you might start to get involved. And at this time when empathy is in such sharp focus as being such a great need, we hope we might count you as allies in the empathy movement we're trying to drive, with books very much at its heart. So Empathy Lab's mission is to raise an empathy educated generation, equipping young people with this vital life skill, which is not at all a fluffy thing. And in doing so, our partners in schools are absolutely crucial. And one such is St Matthew's Primary in Birmingham, where the head, Sonia Thompson, is one of the judges, very expert judges, who choose our Read for Empathy collection that is launched every January. Sonia, welcome. Really delighted to have you with us, and always feel extremely grateful when you've just had a long day at school. So thank you very much indeed. So we've talked a bit sometimes, haven't we, about the need for empathy being in particularly sharp focus right now, and I'd love your perspective on that.
I just think, I think you've already summarised it, Miranda. I think just I'd say the desperate need for adults and children to really tune into the whole notion of empathy, and the whole idea that we've got to just be more responsive to the needs of others, to the feelings and the emotions of others. It's so important. It's so critical in the society that we're living in, where there's so many quite distressing things happening, and our children are seeing this, hearing these things. And it's, it's not to say that these things didn't happen before, but I think as time goes on, I think as media becomes, more pronounced and we kind of see and hear more, I just think it's just so critical for us as educators to tune into the whole notion of empathy.
And you've always been very strong and clear that empathy is learnable.
Absolutely. And I think it's come really from working alongside Empathy Lab, who, one of the things that I really respect is this whole idea of working with Professor Banerjee and looking at the science and what is the evidence telling us about empathy. And I think, there's a real clarity in this idea that empathy can be taught. And I just think that's so powerful, this idea that we can actually teach generations of children to really think, feel and understand others and others' needs, and acting on that and doing something about it. Yeah. I think that's just so inspiring. And I think, again, as educators, gosh, if there's nothing more inspiring that we can do, I think it's, tuning into this.
Yeah, great. We're going to be hearing in a second from a Welsh school where a lot of our work is focused in Wales because of the new curriculum featuring it 35 times, and we're like, okay, so this could be happening everywhere. But we'd love to have a little teaser from you, Sonia, of how St Matthew's might be marking Empathy Day this year.
As always, really excited. We down tools on that day. It's all about empathy, and more we're really responding to it across our curriculum. But certainly on the day, last year we did our empathy walks, and I think the empathy walks are just a firm favourite of St Matthew's, taking the children outside and tuning in to the sounds and the sights and the people, and really having those discussions with the children about empathy. It's, again, really powerful, exciting, and our children love that. I think this year we're also going to be doing a little bit of the list, switch on to listening. And I just love the idea that you can tune children in, and that kind of listening switch power bank, and anything to do with power, superpowers, I'm all for that. So this idea of getting children to think about the different aspects of listening, concentrating, being still, being quiet, checking that they've understood things, and then asking those really great questions. I think, again, these are things that our curriculum does. So empathy tunes into that so well. And again, it says a lot about the quality of the resources that Empathy Lab provides for teachers to use on the day. They are so intuitive to what we should be doing anyway. So it's fantastic. And as I said, the opportunity to create this generation of listeners, thinkers, doers who are going to change the world. Yes.
Yay.
Power.
Thank you, Sonia. Thank you. Bless you. It's really lovely to have you with us. So without more ado, I'm going to share my screen, I hope, and tell you more about Empathy Day. So Paul, is this coming through okay?
Yes, all good.
Great. Excellent. So Empathy Day is a central part of our programme, and this year it's on the 9th of June. And we aim through it to help young people learn more about empathy and why it's important, have transformational empathy experiences through stories and encounters with authors, and be inspired to put it into action. And more generally, to really spark a national debate about how we can build a more empathetic society. What would it take? It's really caught fire, Empathy Day, since we founded it in 2017. And it really was just an idea around my kitchen table with the schools we were working with. So, for instance, if you look at the green bar chart, when we started out, we had 75 schools. Last year, we were approaching 1,700. There's obviously a long way to go, and we'd love your help in doing that. I'm very proud of the pink bar chart too, because we're working with a great many library services across the country, and that means a lot. So we want to grow Empathy Day into a really massive force for change, to be reaching more and more children and families with really positive empathy learning and experiences. And in 5 years' time, we hope to be reaching 1 million children a year. This slide just gives you some sense of the voices of those who participate. And I particularly love Omar's, which is why it's the biggest, because even age 6, you can understand that empathy can change the world. And then just to look maybe at the one in green, empathy resolutions, to think how different the world would be if we tried not to judge people before we got to know them better. These are from teachers. We love hearing back from teachers after the day. And one of the ones we were really pleased with was this one in pink, a teacher who'd not had anything to do with our work in the past, but said that her children went from not knowing what the concept was or the word meant to being really excited about it and wanting to improve their empathy. Sonia referred to one of the psychologists we work with closely, Professor Robin Banerjee, and we've always taken care to have a very sound research base to our work. And our work is founded on 2 key pillars of research. The first, shown on this slide, is that empathy is a learnable skill. Only 10% of our empathic capacity is genetic. And you know, like when you learn to drive, you're having to kind of drive new neural pathways through your brain. Empathy is the same. We can build new pathways. And I find that very challenging and very exciting at the same time. The second piece of research is the research that sparked Empathy Lab into being. I thought I was retiring from a previous charity that I'd founded, but I was fascinated by this research, which is that reading develops real life empathy. And any reader knows that, but to have a body of neuroscience and psychology evidence starting to come really on stream, showing what happens in our brains when we read and why that's empathy building. So this slide shows that as we read stories, as opposed to facts, multiple areas of our brain light up. And that makes reading feel incredibly real. So when we're reading about the feelings of book characters, and really identifying with those book characters, that feels very real too. It's like a simulation of the social world. And that means that we're learning about other people. And for children to be able to do that through literature is an enormously safe and creative way to build their empathy skills. So since we came into being off the back of that research, we've experimented loads, and our programme is now settled on 4 key interventions: a schools programme, an annual Read for Empathy book collection, Empathy Day, and a very exciting innovation programme with publishers and authors. And this year's Empathy Day, the theme is Empathy, Our Human Superpower. And if you think about it, it is really amazing that we have neurons in our brains, mirror neurons, that allow us to understand what other people are feeling. So that's a kind of superpower aspect of it, as indeed the aspect that it helps us be the very best version of ourselves as humans that we can be. So truly a superpower, much needed now, as Sonia said. This year's campaign has 3 elements. The first is the Empathy Collection, book collection, which already exists because we launched it in January, and then some absolutely wonderful content from authors and illustrators, original free 500-word short stories, and Read for Empathy illustrations, and we'll be starting to launch those from May the 5th. We're trying this year a whole new thing, and we really want you to try it and tell us if it works and make it work for future years, the Empathy Superpower Challenge. And we'll be launching that properly on May the 5th. So on the back of the notion that empathy is learnable and like a muscle grows the more we use it, we've set out 9 creative empathy boosting activities that we hope will be led in communities by schools, libraries and families. And then on the day itself, we've got the most amazing online festival called Empathy Day Live, where authors and illustrators will be doing those Superpower Challenge activities. The challenge works by you can just do one activity, but we're trying to reward people doing lots of activities as a badge, a downloadable digital badge for doing 3, and a Michael Rosen signed certificate for doing all 9, and a record card for children and young people to kind of keep track of how they're doing. So these are the 9 activities, and they fall under 3 calls to action: read, connect, and act. And as I say, on the day itself, an online festival harnesses that kind of electricity that authors and illustrators can bring to spread excitement about empathy and develop our superpower. Really is the most astonishing array of authors and illustrators stepping up as empathy role models for the rising generation. They're doing the Superpower Challenge activities, and they're kind of bringing everything that's happening in communities to a head. So I'm going to hand over to Kirsten from our team to tell you a bit more.
Thanks, Miranda. So as Miranda said, the Empathy Superpower Challenge is a range of 9 fun, creative activities which will boost everyone's empathy skills. And you don't just have to be a child to take part in this. And here are just a few. So because reading is empathy building, we're asking readers to assemble to flood the airwaves with crowdsourced reading recommendations for empathy-rich books, tying in with the theme and bringing it to life through power poses And here are some inspiring and fun ones from Jamie Littler and Jacqueline Wilson. And I've had some amazing power poses from authors and illustrators submitted already, so that's going to be really fun. And then in Swansea, to bring the power pose to life in a school, a Swansea school we work with are planning to do a power pose parade.
I'm sorry, Kirsten, my slides aren't moving on. So I'm just going to stop sharing, do it again and give it another go.
Right, okay.
Oh, I do hate it when it does that. Sorry, everybody, bear with me and we'll hope that we can get to the Swansea school.
Brilliant.
Yeah,
excellent.
Hooray.
Thank you. So to bring this to life for children, a Swansea school we work with are planning to do a power pose parade, and that's going to be a brilliant way of getting families and their local community involved. And then the Superpower X-Ray glasses activity, we think children are going to really love downloading and decorating these fabulous Superpower X-Ray glasses, which have been designed for us by the brilliant Jen Carney, which will help them see the world through someone else's eyes. And watching these amazing authors and illustrators showing how in the festival. And there we've got Jen Carney, Benjamin Dean and Nadia Shireen. And then another activity which we're planning is Human Discoveries. And this is a really, really interesting activity because it invites us to use a series of conversational discussion prompts to really get to know someone better and to find some common ground and go that little bit deeper. And it's amazing how some cleverly crafted questions can really help you to do that. And there are 4 fantastic authors who are demonstrating this on the day. And then finally, we've got the empathy walks and the empathy resolutions, and another amazing bunch of authors and illustrators who'll be sharing their empathy walks and resulting empathy resolutions. And we really hope all of you will do and then share this powerful activity, going for a local walk with empathy in mind, really noticing and reflecting as you go about where more empathy would make a difference and making a resolution to put that into action. Even making one small change to your behaviour can make a huge difference to those around you. And you can find out more about the challenge at the website www.empathylab.uk. So now over to Paul, who's going to let you know how to get yourselves Empathy Day ready.
Thank you very much, Kirsten. Really exciting stuff, as is the toolkits and our family pack. Now, those toolkits, if you haven't done so already, they're available for the early years, primary, secondary, and particularly for public libraries as well. Those are already available. Next week, as Miranda and Kirsten have mentioned, the family activities pack launches on May the 5th as well. All you've got to do is go to our website, sign up for them, and you'll be able to access all the brilliant activities and resources in there. But that's not all that's happening at the moment. We have training, particularly for librarians and teachers, coming up on the 17th and 18th of May, 2 half days, really aimed at inspiring you, to get you to understand some of the research behind reading for empathy, to understand some of that brilliant social action that can come about from doing it, and also just a way to take those first steps into bringing empathy into the classroom as well. It's as it says there, it's some of the best training that people have said they've ever done. So that's coming up. And also, if you're a member of the SLA, you also get a 10% discount, so there's a bit of a bonus there too. And that is in amongst a whole bunch of other events that are happening. We've got just tomorrow, How to Change the World Through Empathy is a big Smiley event with Sita Brahmkari. That's happening tomorrow, so keep an eye out for that on our Twitter feeds and our social media platform. And we've got, as we mentioned, the family activities pack on the 5th of May launching. There's a webinar for those of you that are involved in early years education. That's going to be alongside Sue Palmer, Nadia Shireen and June Sullivan as well. And as well as then our training on the 17th of 18th of May, this next one is the big one. Earlier on, we mentioned Professor Robin Banerjee has been key to the research in the Welsh curriculum and also developing empathy with Empathy Lab. But he's going to be chairing our empathy conversation, which is our annual thought leadership event. And we've got brilliant authors, Catherine Rundle, Manjeet Mann and Lem Cisse as well. It really is an all-star cast this year. So please do come and join us for all of those events, and the details for them can be found on the events page of the Empathy Lab website. Now, as we mentioned earlier on, much of the schools work we're doing is in Wales, and that's because the new curriculum there features empathy 35 times in it. I'm absolutely delighted to introduce the next 2 brilliant speakers. They're from a cluster of 7 primary and 1 secondary school that we work closely with in a quite deprived part of Pembrokeshire in West Wales. Kate Clark is a health and wellbeing and empathy lab lead at Pembroke Dock Community School, and Liz Smith is an Uber librarian in a school, Harry Tudor, the secondary school that the primaries feed into. So I'm going to hand you over now to Kate and to Liz.
Thank you very much, Paul. Yes, we work closely together as a cluster of schools, and we've planned some Empathy Day activities together for the past few years that we're going to share with you. Through taking part in the Empathy Lab 18-month project and Empathy Days, our pupils have learnt more about empathy through a diverse and rich range of empathy texts. Our staff and our pupils understand that empathy is a core life skill, vital for successful relationships, collaboration and learning. It's also a force for social change as pupils put empathy into action. I'll now describe how you can use empathy as a superpower with this year's fantastic toolkits from Empathy Lab in order to have an inspiring and meaningful Empathy Day. In Pembroke Dock Community School, we have already introduced our pupils to the amazing texts in the empathy collections. This year's primary school toolkit is designed to be used in the run-up to Empathy Day with a series of superpower challenges. And we're going to introduce the challenges to pupils through a big virtual whole school assembly. And the toolkit also contains ideas for this, which is a great starting point. The challenges can be completed by individuals or classes or year groups, and all pupils will have a Superpower Challenge record card, and they'll record the activities as they go in order to earn a digital badge or certificate. So I'm going to look at a few of the activities that we're going to focus on, and Liz will follow on by describing how she'll use these in a secondary setting. Empathy Day focuses on 3 main themes: read, connect and act. And our first focus is reading through the Speak Empathy to Power activity. Our pupils regularly recommend empathy text to each other, but this activity looks at giving recommendations to the decision makers in their lives, from teachers or family members to governors or even local councillors in the community. And we're going to focus on the texts that year groups are reading from the new empathy collection and how these texts could build empathy by giving people insight into the lives of others and issues that are raised. And we're going to encourage pupils to share their recommendations with people in their lives and also in the community who make the decisions on behalf of others. In year 1, I'm going to use the lovely text, Tisha and the Blossom, and I'm going to recommend it to busy parents and guardians to encourage them to pause as a family and take time out to connect and enjoy family time together. On Empathy Day, we're going to watch the Speak Empathy to Power live to see the recommendations from Anjali Routh and Sita Brahmachari too. And an activity that our pupils always enjoy is using our empathy glasses to read and understand each other. And pupils are going to decorate these, and we encourage them to use these glasses when reading stories to see situations through the eyes of book characters. And this year's glasses, which Kirsten showed us, are absolutely amazing, and I can't wait to use them. We've found that since starting our journey with Empathy Lab, that our pupils are more able to discuss their feelings and put names to them, which in turn has helped them understand the feelings of others. Behaviour has also improved across our school, with pupils more able to put themselves in others' shoes and reflect upon how their actions make others feel. It's been a real culture shift in our school. Moving on to Connect, and this is the most powerful activity that we did last year. It was going on an empathy focused walk in our local community. And this year we're going to invite families to go on an empathy walk and use their superpowers of noticing and reflecting on the situations that they see. For example, it could be the effect of seeing litter in the community or seeing a family having fun in the park. Last year, pupils and families drew maps of what they saw and felt, and they shared their videos of their walks on social media. and they were really powerful. Staff also carried out their own empathy walks in the community and also around the school. We linked this to ACT by encouraging our pupils to create an empathy resolution which would change things for the better in our local community, having experienced what they felt on their walk. And I'm really looking forward to doing this again. The resolution can be big or small, but it reminds pupils that they are using their empathy skills to really make a difference. And it helps them understand that they too can be an empathy superhero in our community, and that acts, no matter how big or small, can really make a difference. Empathy truly is a superpower that can not only change pupils' lives, but also the world. And there was a huge buzz like electricity around our School and Empathy Day last year. It really is the highlight of the teaching calendar for us. I'm now going to hand over to Liz.
Thank you, Kate. Real wonderful stuff there. We love it when we hear pupils arriving in Year 7 mentioning empathy-rich texts they've read in their primary schools, and even better when they alight on a copy on our library shelves, plus others by the same author or on the same theme. So continues their reading journey and their empathy journey with us at secondary school. I'm so excited as we plan for another Empathy Day. If the buzz of activity and the enhanced empathy skills and conversations we've been having with pupils from our ongoing Empathy Lab project work and our Empathy Day celebrations last year is anything to go by, we're surely in for a treat. I love the focus for 2022 based around the 9 activities of the Empathy Superpower Challenge. As we head towards the day in school, our heads of Key Stage will be introducing the challenge in assemblies and encouraging pupils to get involved and get their families involved too. Empathy-rich texts are now an established part of our learning in Ysgol Harri Tudur, with a wide selection, some of which are pictured on this slide, having been introduced into mentor time, woven into the development of the new curriculum for Wales across all our faculties, and into many other activities across the school, including displays, clubs, reading groups, and activities taking place in the library. Pupils are regularly spotting empathy texts to recommend to each other too. We've already seen the impact on pupils across several year groups of reading The Soup Movement by Ben Davis, for example, in mentor time, which inspired them to make contact with one of our local homeless charities and organise regular collections in school of items to donate to the charity to support homeless people in our area. I suspect it's going to feature in several of the Speak to Power recommendations, as might No Fixed Address by Susan Nielsen and Sofa Surfer by Malcolm Duffy, both of which were read by Year 8 pupils based on the same theme. From the empathetic responses to Gemma's story in I Have No Secrets by Penny Jolson, which we've been reading aloud together this term, I predict that some of our Year 8 pupils may choose to recommend this book to decision makers who are planning facilities for those with visible as well as hidden disabilities. I'm really curious to see which books learners will choose for the Speak Empathy to Power activity, as well as for their Superpower X-Ray glasses and the Empathy Power Pose. We'll also be introducing pupils to some of the fantastic new titles in the 2022 secondary collection and new this year collection for Wales. So many brilliant books to share and to discuss. One thing we'll be doing alongside introducing the challenge to pupils is inviting and encouraging faculties and other staff groups to take part in the challenge together. A bit of healthy staff competition, and as well as great role modelling, of course, for the pupils. I can't wait to see the staff sporting their Superpower X-Ray specs, striking up power poses with their recommendations and sharing their empathy walk maps. As a focus for all our activities and our platform to share all the amazing things going on, Ysgol Harri Tudur launched a special set of empathy web pages last year on Empathy Day. We were also keen to include the wonderful activities in our partner primary schools, such as the pupil and staff empathy walks at Pembroke Dock Community School. As every day is an empathy day, however, we wanted to make it a natural feature of the overall website, just as empathy is such a key life skill for us all. As Kate mentioned earlier, we work closely together as a cluster, and in thinking together about Empathy Day this year, an idea was formed to develop this platform further so that schools in our cluster can share their challenges and therefore their reading for the Superpower Challenge. We hope that this will help to reinforce the idea of us all as a community of empathetic readers. Our reading and empathy journey, beginning in our early years, continuing throughout primary school, and then in secondary school and beyond into life.
Oh, thank you so much, both Liz and Kate, especially after a long day at school. And we're really proud to be working with you on an ongoing basis and to see the impact you're having. It's amazing. So to our last speaker. So happy to have author Rashmi Sirdeshpande with us. We first came across Rashmi when we included her book, How to Change the World, in last year's Read for Empathy collection. And then she came on one of our author masterclasses and ever since has been really involved with us. I see Rashmi as really emblematic of the way that authors, illustrators and publishers are massively getting behind this book-based empathy movement. And of course, the authors are the creators of the books that are driving this empathy. So I'm going to stop sharing and we can say hello to Rashmi, I hope.
Hello.
Hey, are you with us?
I am with you, yes, hello.
Yay, good. Oh, school run and supper done and yeah.
It's in bed.
Oh, thank you, Rashmi. What a day. So, Rashmi, I know you think a lot about empathy and its importance in society and especially right now. So perhaps you could just share some of your thinking.
Well, I just want to repeat everything Sonia said, really. I thought she put it so well about how it's always been important. And it's important now more than ever that we really learn, and I love that empathy is learnable. We really learn how to understand the needs and feelings of others. And it's so true that we're completely immersed in the news now. Children are too, in a way that I wasn't when I was growing up. It's a very different world. It feels like a different world. And empathy really is a superpower. I think it's one of the best things about us as humans. It is the thing that, combined with creativity and kindness, has helped us overcome so many challenges around the world and through history, and is continuing to do that. And we do face so many challenges here on this planet of ours. But even just on a personal level, it's something we all need. It's foundational. We need it in our relationships, that's at home, in the classroom. And when you grow up in the world of work, empathy is still foundational. I mean, before being a children's writer, I was a lawyer, and then I went to business school. Everyone I met in law and in business and in tech, the best people I met were always saying the same thing, that it begins with empathy. Everything you do, business people will say that it's about putting the customer at the heart of everything. People who create apps are thinking about how users are going to use them. They're using empathy. They're beginning with empathy. So I think it is foundational. It's something that we all need and we need to put first.
Brilliant. So in Empathy Day, as we're explaining, there are authors and illustrators being kind of amazing role models for children and doing rather different things to your normal events and how you would normally be connecting with children. So I wondered if you could just share a little bit about what you did last year and then what you're doing this year for Empathy Day.
Of course. So last year, you kindly invited me to take part in Empathy Day Live, where I had a lovely chat with Nathan Bryan, the author of Look Up, illustrated by Dapo Adiola. And we talked about making empathy resolutions, which is one of my favorite parts of Empathy Day and all the activities in it. There are so many amazing activities, but this one is about turning empathy into action. And I love that. And so we talked about our empathy resolutions. My one was about really listening to other people, especially if I disagree with them. So it's a tough one, but but much needed at the time. So that was we did that. We talked about empathy resolutions, and I was spreading the word, telling everyone I know, all the schools I know, to get involved with those. And they did. It was really lovely to see children's empathy resolutions, and staff too, making their own empathy resolutions. So if you're watching and you're thinking about join in, you know, it's for everyone. So I did that. I also wrote an empathy short along with a whole bunch of wonderful writers. It was an amazing collection of shorts last year. They're just short stories that demonstrate empathy. And I thought I was going to write a really gritty, world-changing one. And the thing that came out was actually a younger story, a really simple story about listening. And actually, I'm really proud of that, because I think it begins with listening, doesn't it? It begins with just stopping, pausing, and not thinking about what you think other people want and need, but thinking from their perspective, not eating my words, perspective taking, yes. Which was the theme for last year. So I did that as well, but lots of shouting on social media. So everyone do that too.
Yeah, and that's so very much what we're asking for people to help us spread the word, because we're the teeniest, weeniest team, and the way we can get the word out is through everybody else. Yeah. And tell us what you're doing this year.
Oh, this year I'm taking part in one of the Superpower challenges from the activity pack, and it's called Human Discoveries. And my one is a conversation with the lovely, wonderful James Mayhew. And we're going to be using that Human Discoveries challenge to really get to know each other using these prompts that Empathy Lab have provided, just little questions. And I have to say, actually, my children use these prompts too, because I cut them out, put them in a jar for us, and they found them and they started using them with each other, and it's a really, really incredible activity to do, one for all ages.
Oh, that's so lovely. Oh yeah, and it's so lovely the way your children advised you on the short last year, didn't they?
They did. They gave me the confidence to send it.
So lovely. So as well as all this stuff happening in communities, one of our aims is to see if we can drown out the hate, at least for a bit, on the airwaves. And Empathy Day regularly trends on Twitter, which is amazing, because most of us are volunteers, and you know, we don't have a big agency behind us or anything, so it's very much everybody like you and on this call getting behind it. So will you say what you're going to be doing on the airwaves as part of that this year?
Okay, so I'm going to be doing the usual shouting and sharing the activity packs, because the more people that see those, the better. I'm going to be taking part in the big book recommendation campaign with my power pose. Got to think of my power pose. I'm torn between books. There are so many amazing books. Might be Bumble and Snug by Mark Bradley. It's all about big feelings, but it could be A Different Sort of Normal by Abigail Balfe. And these are both in the Read for Empathy collection this year. Really amazing books. So I'll be doing that. What else will I be doing, Miranda? I'm going to be sharing what I do and my empathy resolutions. Of course, I'm going to take part in those, and I'm going to be sharing those on social media with #EmpathyDay and tagging @EmpathyLabUK. So if anyone gets involved in any aspect of the Superpower challenges, resolutions, share and tag so that we can amplify. And I always look for things that I can amplify too around Empathy Day. As you know, Miranda, I'll hunt those things down and share them widely if I can.
You're so generous with your time and your attention, Rashmi, and oh, thank you. Feel a bit teary. It's really,
no, thank
really
you for
lovely.
involving me. I love seeing what Kate and Liz and Sonia and Haida and everyone else, all the schools that have been involved, the libraries that have been involved, the partners, the publishing partners, authors and illustrators. It's such a wonderful vibe, and it is so important. So it's always a yes from anyone who hears about this project, isn't it?
Bless you.
It's a big yes.
Thank you very much. So we have a few minutes left for questions, comments. When I'm presenting, I can't see the chat, so I've I need you guys to say if there are things to answer or ask or...
Well, there are some reflections. First of all, coming from the Facebook page, we've got Julia, who's a teacher working with us down in Swansea, who's just simply put, she's very proud to have Empathy Lab working in our school. So it's... And I think that's it, is that the schools that we have developed relationships, and we've spoken to Kate and Liz, and there's all sorts of people I can see in the waiting room that we've been working with over the last sort of 18 months, 2 years, 3 years and onwards. And that's the thing, is it kind of generates, I think Rashmi just used the word vibe, and I think that's about right. And I think that's what Julia's sort of mentioned there. I don't know, the rest of Empathy Lab team, was there anything else that's popped up in the chat?
Or do put your hand up if you'd like to ask a question. This is the moment to ask anything.
And we've put the link to get your free toolkits into the chat. So if you're hanging about and not doing anything, then make sure you sign up to get your free toolkits now, because they're really fab. As everybody's saying, the resources are really high quality. So we hope you'll sign up to get yours.
Yes, you could do it right this minute.
We have had a really lovely message from Claire. Claire, I don't know whether you want to sort of come and articulate this yourself, but I mean, I could probably do it, you know, not so much justice. The words wonderful and love, love, love are in there. But it's, I think that the key bit here is we can see what really make the difference for the future as children and young people see the value of learning and understanding the perspectives and circumstances of others. And it's really encouraging to see, let me scroll down, Rashmi talking about writing and empathy being our starting point. I think that's it, Claire. I mean, have I given any justice to what you've written there? Claire may well give a thumbs up or something, I'm not sure.
Do come on if you want, Claire.
Or anybody, quite frankly.
Yeah.
I think, I don't know whether it's the same Claire, Paul, but there's a lovely message from Claire Fulton.
It is.
Yes, that's the same one.
About the training, and that one of her colleagues attended our training and was very, very, in capitals, impressed. And I think that's a lovely message, because training's so important. It's so easy to think, you know, what we're bringing on about, and actually a little bit of training can just focus the mind, and the training is, even if we say it ourselves, really quite good. So there we go. Thank you for that message.
And Mr. Dilly, Mr. Dilly, I need to have a chat with you at some point or another. But it just says, thank you very much. Really brilliant. It begins with listening. And I think that's, you know, the fact that that's one of the 9 superpower challenges is that superpowered empathy listening switch. It is absolutely right. Do
we have Debbie Bond with us?
Yes, we do.
Is she still here? Debbie, why don't you come on screen?
Hello.
Hello.
How are you?
So you'll see Debbie has done the most wonderful listening work using previous resources, but Debbie, it's slightly different for Empathy Days, slightly drilling down, and we want you to have a go and make us another video about it all.
Oh, I'd love to, because it's our Monday activity. It's the children empathy. The empathy listening switch has just become part of our learning now. It's our weekly routine, and I had a new child start on this week, and he'd come across from Kent. And so it was the very first activity he was introduced to after the register. And so I asked one of the children to articulate why we did the empathy switch, listening switch every week. And I wish I'd recorded it for her. You know, this is their third year doing it now, and it's precious. They can't wait. They come in and they choose a different child every week. And to see the different groups of children interacting with each other, and just that understanding, and anyone that does any restorative sort of work for behaviour management and relationships within the school, that empathy listening switch feeds into it beautifully, because the children can then understand why somebody has looked in a particular way, or spoken in a particular way, or acted in a particular way. It's reached out further than just being an activity in the school, and it's rolled into all their reading, and it's just fabulous. So thank you for everything that you've done for us.
Oh, Debbie, don't. So lovely. Lots more to come.
Yeah.
We now have a plethora.
Sorry, we got a lovely comment as well here from Jane talking about the Welsh curriculum and how it's inspiring Scotland, and somebody said that today this afternoon about and learning from the Welsh curriculum, and yeah, it's the heart of it, and that's a lovely comment. Thank you, Jane.
There's another nice comment here, Miranda, from Philippa Moyle. I don't know whether she's still with us, about having promoted Empathy Day. They've now put it into their PSHEE scheme of work. I don't know whether this is a secondary, and if it is, oh, take my hat off to you. Well done, you.
It's a prime. Can you hear me?
I can.
Yes. Hello. It's we're a prep school, so we're primary, and we have 7 and 8 as well. So
oh, brilliant.
So we've actually got lined up. I slightly was ahead of the game because we've been reading The Boy Who Made Everyone Laugh. I guessed her book would be part of the Empathy Lab book list, so we booked her.
It's so great, isn't it? I love
but it's
that.
across the school from age 2 to 13, so that's really good.
Have you thought about joining the judging panel, Philippa?
What a fabulous age span, Philippa. That must be really exciting.
It's quite challenging too.
I bet. Nice message. Thank you.
Tori has also mentioned that yourself, Miranda, A.M. Dessou and John Biddle are going to be doing a podcast, the Tiny Voice Talks, in the run-up to Empathy Day. So everyone please look out for that when it comes out. And we'll, of course, shout loudly about it.
Toria Bona has been such support to us. So, yeah, Toria, it was really lovely to have you with us. Hooray!
I love the idea of Miranda as a tiny voice. That's interesting.
Tiny but mighty.
I'm going to say it's a misnomer.
And lastly, Angela has just commented that she loves Rashmi, saying that she knows that she needs to listen, particularly when she disagrees with them. And I think we can all learn from that. So
yeah. Well, people, it is our 45 minutes are up. We'll hang around if anybody would like to chat on screen, but please go away, spread the word, come on the training, get the toolkits, do the evaluation afterwards so we can build it and let's make a better world. Thank you.